Yeah, I think that we're touching on again the whole question of, well, we keep saying under these conditions, under special conditions, and I think I'd like to spend some time. What are these conditions? Is it the way that you bring up? It's not structure, non-structure. It's some basic conditions that are part of the whole person-centered approach, which we're talking about here. We're not talking about open classroom versus closed classroom, or free curriculum versus structured curriculum. We're talking about some basic conditions that you've identified and educators have researched too, that have to be there regardless of the particular population. And I wonder if you could talk about that at this point.
Well, certainly probably the most important one is realness or genuineness, what we've termed congruence. It has to do with in therapy, it has to do with the therapist being present, being real, being there. In the classroom, I think it has to do with the teacher being the person that he or she is, not putting on a teacher's mask when entering the classroom, but being the person that is there. And then certainly it makes a difference whether we care about the individual. It's true in therapy. Do I care about the client? In the classroom, it's very true. Does the teacher genuinely care for the children in that classroom? And that's something that can't be turned on like a faucet. It's either there or not there. And then the third is both an attitude and a skill. Is the teacher willing to really hear what the school experience means to the child, what life means to the child, what the books that he's studied or the experiences he's had? What is the meaning of that for each individual child? And to the extent that those three conditions are met, of realness and caring and an empathic, sensitive ability to hear, you can be sure that a lot of learning will take place in the classroom. And I don't say that carelessly. There's some of the most exhaustive research that's been done in education has been done on this point by Dave Espy and Flora Roebuck, and on thousands of children and hundreds of teachers, and rating the actual verbalizations that went on in the classroom hour. They found that when those conditions were present, there was more learning of academic subjects, there was more creative problem solving, there was less absenteeism, better morale, and in younger children, even a rise in IQ when those conditions were present as compared to classrooms where those conditions were very low. So when we talk about basics, I think of the climate of the classroom as one of the most basic aspects of education.
So it is possible, or is it possible, that even someone much like a parent who's dealing not with a fantasy of how they'd like their children to grow up in the community and schools and so on, but really given all of the problems that they've already experienced, the other conditions, the student has gone through years of school of a particular kind, is in other classes that are of a particular kind, is it still possible then for the individual teacher in that classroom, much like the parent and so on, to create an environment despite all the surroundings that can create a person-centered developmental experience?
It is definitely possible. I had a really good time collecting the experiences of different teachers for my book on freedom to learn for the 80s, because you found grade school teachers and high school teachers and college instructors and graduate school people doing the most significant things in creating classrooms where exciting learning could go on, did go on. And in spite of all of the obstacles outside, an individual teacher can do a tremendous amount along that line. There's loads of evidence for that.
And the opposite is also true. One individual teacher could really undermine the self-esteem and the
That's
self-concept of a student,
right.
using ridicule and making fun of it. And it's still very common in some school
Very
systems.
common.